Hi everyone, so we're going to be looking at how we could use the provider in our project. So we're going to be just using the simple counter logic and seeing how we can set up a provider with our models. And what I'll do is I'll go to my desktop and then create a brand new project. And here's my folder, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to drag and drop it over, and I'm going to modify my main.dart file here in the libs. So I am going to delete these comments just to make it shorter, but I am going to keep this home page logic, at least some of it, or I think I'll just start from scratch. It'll just be easier. So I'm just going to get rid of all this my home page stuff underneath, and what I'll do is I'll create a home screen page. So I'll say home screen, and if I want I could just pass a title. Welcome. And I'm gonna make a folder in the libs called screens, and then in the screens folder I'll make a file called home screen.dart, and I'm going to set up a stateful widget. And I'll return a home screen state. Extends state of the home screen, and I will return scaffold. And what I'm going to be doing is I am inside of the home screen. I'll just set up this home screen and super.key, and because I'm passing over title, then I'll need to do required this dot title, final string title. And what I'll be doing is in the scaffold, then I could set up my app bar. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this provider. So I'm going to have to install this package. I'm going to copy this Flutter pub add provider, open up my terminal, and paste that in. And that should be in our project now. If we go to pubspec.yaml, you'll see our provider is under our dependencies now. And I'm going to go back to main.dart. Have to import package provider example home screen. There we go. So we got that error to disappear. And here in my main.dart, because I installed the provider, what I'm going to be doing is here around the run app, or inside the run app, I'm going to create something around here, and that is the change notifier provider. And this const app will be inside of here, so there will also be some sort of child. The child will contain the constant of the app, and the create will be the context, and we will be creating this counter model. So this counter model, we're going to be setting it up in our models folder. So let me actually set this up first. In our libs, we're going to make another folder. It's going to be called models. And we're going to make a file here called counter model.dart. And in here I'll be doing the counter logic. So I'll make some sort of package, Flutter, material.dart. And I'm going to have the counter model extends the change notifier. And we're going to have some sort of private count. It'll be stored here. And we can then send over the count by using this get method. And we're going to set up some sort of function. And we're going to say notify listeners. So then this will let other widgets know there is an update. Okay, so it's just to help notify all the other widgets that are using this counter model that there's going to be an update. And what I'm going to be doing is, in this area here, I have to make sure that I import the counter model into here as well. Our models, counter model.dart, and there we go, we got rid of that error. So this change notifier provider will be around the entire application, because then it will begin to see, what values are changing on any type of screen that we create. So in our screens, and let me just see here, I got a random letter there. Okay, so we got no errors here in our home page. It's all good. Everything looks good. And we're gonna now go to our home screens.dart. So in this home screens.dart, this is where we can start setting up the rest of the logic. So we have a scaffold. We're gonna have a app bar, and we'll have some sort of title, text. We're going to call that widget.title. So the title is coming from here, whatever's being passed over. And I'll have a background color. Color scheme of whatever is the default there, inverse primary. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to add a body. They'll have center. And the child will put everything in a column. And now we can build that stack we see on their screen. And we're going to have children, so we'll say widget. So we'll have an array of information here. And we're going to, also before I continue, so we have our app bar. We're also going to actually put a builder, and I'm going to use context value child. And then here actually I'm going to be placing that scaffold here. And around everything I'll be putting a consumer counter model. And I have to put the bracket all the way at the end as well. And that should be okay. And that consumer, we're going to have to grab it from import package provider.dart, save it, and there we go, we're using the consumer. So the consumer is just saying that we're going to be referencing that counter model that we've set up. It'll be using some sort of logic somewhere here in this tree, and we're going to check to see, there's some sort of values that we could use in here. And inside this widget area, we'll say const text of you have pushed, let's say you have pushed the button this many times, and comma, I'll put another text. I'll just grab the value.count to string .count.toString, and then I'll put a style, theme of, headline medium, so I got the basic setup of this tree here. There's a few more things that I want to add. What I'll do is here after center, comma, I'm also going to put a floating action button. So floating action button, we're going to have some sort of on-pressed value. And on-pressed, we'll say final counter. We're going to have a context.read because we're just going to be reading something from our counter model. And we'll look at our counter.increments. We're grabbing that function based on whenever you press it. We're going to read whatever's inside there. We're going to look for that increment function, and it's going to trigger that function. So then we'll add a tooltip of increment child const icon add. There we go. So that should give us the basics of what we need. Let's take a look at this before I explain it further. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just open up a simulator. So I got my iPhone 15 Pro Max here. You can use any device you want. And you can see here it connects automatically. If it doesn't, you can click the bottom right corner or look up here. If it doesn't show up, you can also go run, start debugging. And I'm just going to let that load. Run, start debugging. So it's just launching the application right now. So let's take a look at our application now. I'm just going to go to my application here. You can see here we got that welcome message from the app bar. That's being passed over. The widget.title is coming from here because we sent over the title. And you can see here we got this message here because we said you push the button this many times. And what we're doing here is we're going to, when we click it, you should see it incrementing the number. So what's happening is that there's some sort of button here at the bottom right, and when we're pressing it, it's going to take whatever the context is. The context is whatever is coming from this tree right here, and what we're saying is based on the tree, we are going to also be connected to this consumer counter model. So the counter model is what is seeing all the different changes that's happening on the application, and because we got consumer counter model and it's part of this change notifier, it's also seeing which one has this counter model attached to it, and based on the context, we are able to then let's read what's coming out of the counter model. And what we're going to be doing is, based on whatever's on the counter model, we will call the increment function. So the increment function is right here in our counter model, and you can see here it extends the change notifier because it's part of notifying what's here on the change notifier provider. And whenever someone clicks this button, it will trigger this function to be called. And what you could see is you'll then be able to see the number. So the number is just going to be right here. It's the value.count.toString. So based on whatever's coming from that counter model, we're going to be able to grab whatever value is being passed over. So the value, we'll say .count because this is called count. It's count right here, get count. So when we call that getter over here with the value.count, and because we're displaying it in a text, we have to convert that number into .toString to be a string. And that's why whenever we click it, we can see that the number increments as we push the button now.